Hey, it's Sam, and I'm talking about Moon-Venus conjunction in the sky. When Moon and Venus join, it brings together these two energies that seem very similar, and of course many astrologers kind of lump them together. Oh, they're both the feminine planets. They are. But, they both feel good, and, Moon energy, Venus energy, it's all like love and beauty and, like it's all the same. They're similar, but really not the same. In fact, in some ways, they're more different than similar. In fact, they're sort of in conflict with each other. They're energies that create conflict within us. Inner conflict, you would say. And the simplest way that I use to explain it is that the moon is that selfless love, like a mother's love for a child, or the love we have for our pets, or something where we just want to give love with no expectation of reciprocation, where no expectation that it's equal. And when I say a mother's love for a child, I don't mean an adult child. I mean a young child, like a baby. Let's just say like a baby, or like a 1-year-old, a 2-year-old, where you have to nurture and just give that child love, and the child is not capable of reciprocating. It's not an equal relationship. That's why it's good to use the example of our pets as well. The dog can poop on the floor, and we still clean up the poop and keep feeding the dog because we love the dog and we just want to give love. That's the moon. Because our nature is love, we want to give it. Venus is not that kind of love, at least not in an active way. Venus is about reciprocal love. It's about equality. It's about you get this much, I get that much. Like the kind of love we experience in relationships, which are not selfless. We see it most exemplified in romantic relationships, where as soon as it becomes out of balance, even one atom, one micron of out of balance or imbalance, and we feel cheated or we feel unappreciated. As I say, we see it very noticeably in romantic relationships, but all interactions with adults. Two adults interacting with each other is the Venus energy coming into existence. So you can see why this is very different from the moon, which is the selfless love, like the mother's love for the child, the love for our pets, and the, let's say, the romantic love, where as soon as it feels unfair or unequal, they're suffering. In romantic relationships, we're always evaluating if it's fair. Well, how come you... Well, I did this for you, but you don't do it for me. Okay, well, how come you say that, and that bothers you about me, but you do the same thing? And we constantly do this. We constantly go back and forth, trying for equality. And it's not just that, it's also in, let's say, like a business partnership. Any situation where you have two people who can only fulfill their desires with the other person, that's Venus. So in a romantic relationship, we're both trying to fulfill our desires, a mutual desire with the other person. Like, for instance, sex is a mutual desire we want to fulfill with the other person. We need them to cooperate. We need them to agree to it, or else we can't fulfill the desire. Now, Venus eventually and ultimately becomes more related to devotion and something that's similar to that moon love, but it's a different process. It's a different situation. Because with Venus, that sort of devotion is objectified. It's an object of devotion. Whereas with the moon, the object is not really even crucial. It's because that fundamental nature is to just feel whatever is there. So when Moon and Venus come together, we can have this beautiful experience where the heart, which is the moon, is absorbing this Venus energy, which wants to love other people, appreciate other people. But there can be a conflict between selfless love and conditional love. Let's say if it's in a natal chart, if it's in someone's birth chart. And then, of course, like with all conjunctions, you have to look and see what sign it's in. If it's in a sign that's more conducive to the moon, then Venus energy might get more dominated. If it's in a sign that's more conducive to Venus, then the moon energy might get subordinated. Of course, if you get water signs, then the Venus might be more pushed down. Fire signs, neither one of them are doing so well. Earth signs tends to favor both a little bit, maybe Venus a little bit more. And what's the other one? Air signs probably tends to favor Venus more because it's more intellectual. So again, whenever the moon joins something, joins a planet, it joins our heart to that. So the heart joined Venus energy means that the heart is connected to this desire for beauty. One thing to really understand about the differences between the planets is shown in the differences in the gunas of the planets. Venus is rajasic. It's active. It wants to be happy. Again, this is very different than the moon. The moon isn't motivated to be happy. It's motivated to be pure and to be peaceful. Peaceful and pure are sattva guna. Sattva is peaceful, it's pure, it's about something higher, it's a higher principle. It doesn't mean higher in a better sense. It's not better. None of the gunas are better in this regard. In the pure sense that no guna is better than the other. Because that tendency towards purity of the moon can make us also not be so intelligent. Because we're hoping, or we're very innocent. That sort of innocent purity is through the moon, but we can also be naive and not using our discrimination and all like that too with the moon. That's the problem with the sattvic planets, is the nature of those energies are to be more innocent and open and pure, and then feel tragically hurt and destroyed when that's not the case. So for example, this innocent love that we want, when we try to find it in a romantic relationship, we feel hurt. We feel, how could you not love me when I love you so much? And again, that's an illusion, because we love the other person so much as soon as the other person stops loving us. And then we focus on that they're not loving us, but not how unloving we are. So this is what happens in the moon anyway with relationships in general. This is why we have to understand there's this big illusion about romantic relationships that we should selflessly love our partner, especially with women, because women try to selflessly love everyone. But actually, relationships work because of that agreement first. Of course we can selflessly love our partner because our nature is selfless love. We can selflessly love everyone, but we're not going to be able to have a good relationship with someone unless the Venus energy is good. So the Venus energy, which is rajasic, allows us to accommodate their desires and our desires. So desire is the hook with Venus, the desire for happiness. Peace is the hook for the moon. Peace and purity and trust. That's why we want to trust our heart with someone. You can use Venus as the indicator of like sex and desire and that kind of happiness you want to have with another person. But if happiness and peace were the same thing, then every time we had sex, it would make us peaceful. And of course it doesn't. There's people we can have sex with that feels good, but then we don't feel peaceful around them. We don't trust them. And so it's hard to have something longer term with them. So these are the issues that happen when Moon and Venus interact. When Venus and the Moon are joined in the natal chart, this becomes a quality of the person. If it's by transit, then it's just for a couple days because the Moon moves pretty quickly. So notice this in charts and notice how these different inner conflicts that happen when planets join, and this is the inner conflict of Moon and Venus. And of course, one thing that it increases is that romance, that desire for happiness, that desire to merge in the heart with beauty and love. So it can make a person very artistic, can make a person very romantic, can make a person really desire and crave love and intimacy, but they have to cycle through this thing that I'm talking about. So that's kind of obvious, that part. I'm talking more about what the stress might be. But of course, the person, we can always find it in our own heart. We have to find that beauty and that peace and connection in our own heart and in our own, in those things that we find beauty in that don't involve another person disappointing us. It doesn't mean that we can't be with other people and that they're always going to disappoint us, no. But we have to find it in ourselves and then and not force the other person to be the source of our peace. Because we need to find peace on our own. And often when Moon Venus join, that peace, we really look for that peace in someone else or something external that makes us happy. And we get confused between personal happiness and inner peace. They get very confused.